Hello everyone, Nev here, and today I am doing the Venus transit in Taurus. And before I switch it down to the my desk here, I just wanted to start off the video just showing my backyard here and our balcony over there. Anyway, so it just felt very it's Taurus. Taurus season in general, but also Venus Taurus, so I don't know, wanted to show something earthy, but let's bring it down to the decks here. All right, so today for Venus in Taurus, I chose, this one just like immediately came to my mind. I don't know, it felt very Taurus to me, very earthy, and that is the Force of Enchantment Tarot. Yeah, I just, it just seemed, I don't know, I can't quite explain why. It just, when I thought in my head, what deck am I going to use for my Venus in Transit video, like there was no question. I immediately thought the Force of Enchantment. So, yeah, I don't know. There's something about it that does feel very Taurus to me, but in general, it's just very earthy. And Taurus, to me, is a very, very earthy deck. And I also chose the Druid Plant Oracle here. I didn't grab all the cards. Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like something that would go very well with this. So we've got the Plant Oracle here. And I do have, because I pulled this right before I started doing this reading, this is my morning card pool. And this is from the Druid Animal Oracle deck. This is the Druid Plant. This my morning card pool was from the Druid Animal. And I got the Earth Dragon, which is incredibly appropriate. So I thought I'd go ahead and put that there as well. So I also have my Star Codes Astro Oracle cards here. Of course, the Venus card. Venus is in my 4th house, so I have the 4th house here. And of course we have Taurus, and the keyword is cultivate. All right, so to get things started, I'm going to go ahead and grab the candle. This is my Venus candle. Here's my lighter. Yeah, so I'm going to light the candle, and I was going to light some incense, but honestly, I just poured myself a cup of coffee, and I really do not want to have like incense going in the air while I'm trying to drink a beverage. So I want to have my coffee more than I want to light incense. So I decided not to. Yeah. So anyway, the spread that I'm going to be using is the Venus in Taurus spread, and that is by moonmamaoracle. I will put a picture of that on the screen. Yeah. Now, I haven't yet decorated my page in my journal for this, but I'm going to be picking a lot of greens. I don't know. It's the earthiness. The earthiness is really, so Venus for me, in my mind, I think I have a certain idea, not Venus, Taurus, sorry, excuse me. I think I have this idea in my mind of Taurus as, I think it's because my mom is a Taurus, my mother-in-law is a Taurus, so I have their image in mind, and plus what I also know of Tauruses. One of the things that a lot of people say is very Taurus is that idea of like really self-care and indulging, and maybe a shadow side of it would be lazy, though I think that's a bit of a strong word. But like just very relaxed, very just wanting to chill and be pampered. Like that's a good one too, pampered. Let me see what the Star Codes says for Taurus. Let me see if I can find it. Aries and Taurus. All right, cultivate. So Taurus asks you to hold still, dig in, grow roots. So that's another reason why it feels very earthy to me. Yeah, and that whole idea of what I was saying of being very pampered and like at home and cozy, it feels very Taurus to me. Yeah, and it does make me think of my mom too. So manifest in a practical way, and Tauruses are very practical. Signified by a bull standing in its field, Taurus rules the neck and voice. Its purpose is to bring life into matter through growing wildflowers and crops, through our muscular strength and the sensual potential of our bodies, and through the solidness of our materials resources. So yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, the key word here is cultivate, and that makes sense to me. So, the spread I'll be doing, as I said, is the Venus and Taurus by Moon Mama Oracle, and the positions are: where do I desire stability? How can I show myself extra love? How will this transit affect my relationships? Where shouldn't I compromise in life? Where or how should I start to be more vulnerable? And what should I splurge on to spoil myself? Yeah, so I actually really liked all those prompts, because there have been a couple of these Venus transit spreads from, that the prompts weren't quite right, so I had to tweak them a little bit to fit what I was going for here. But yeah, all of those are great. So Venus in Taurus, yeah, it's really going to be a lot about that self-care and that indulgence, and really taking time for yourself, showing that extra love. Yeah, and it's very homey, And so Venus is in my fourth house, which, speaking of the home, the fourth house is the card, the house of the home, and where your roots are. So it feels right here. And Taurus is also ruled by Venus. Libra is also ruled by Venus. I'm a Libra. But yeah, so anyway, let me go ahead and pull a card for just a Venus in Taurus. Just a general card for this position. So Venus in Taurus. And I like that because these cards are huge. The Druid plant and Druid animal oracles, they're both huge. But there aren't like a whole lot of cards to them, and they're very bendy, so they side shuffle very, very well. So yeah. All right, so one more shuffle here. And an overhand. All right, now I'm going to pull a card. We have Juniper. Nice. All right. So I also wanted to bring out the book for this, because this is not a deck I use a lot, and so yeah, just wanted to bring out the book. And I opened to Juniper, and one thing that caught my eye right here, down here, it says the Bealton tree. They spell it the English anglicized way, but that's okay. The Bealton tree. Juniper is such a magical tree that it is surprising we don't find it in the Irish Ogham tree alphabet. It grows wild in Ireland, but is under threat there, as it is in Britain, where its numbers have declined by 60% since 1960. Juniper was probably the first tree to colonize the northern British Isles once the last of the ice sheets retreated about 12,000 years ago. Oh, there's way too much to read here. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, so I don't know. That caught my eye, and especially since it was Bealtaine for me a few days ago. I celebrate Bealtaine at the 4 Irish fire festivals. I celebrate them on their astrological date instead of like May 1st, and this year it was May 4th, because that is the exact date in between the solstice and the equinox. So yeah, so that's when I celebrate the holidays. So it was just like 2 days ago. I'm recording this on the 6th, I believe. And so yeah. All right, so its keywords here are cleansing, pioneering, and magic. Ooh, that's nice. So very cleansing. Upright meaning. In the old days, juniper was used to cleanse houses. That's I have been doing a lot of like spring cleaning. I know it's the beginning of May, especially in the Irish calendar, it's the beginning of summer. But I've been doing a lot of cleaning. So, yeah, this card may mean that there is something you need to complete or clear away before you begin a new project or phase. Yeah, and I'm just going to stick with that. I'm not going to read too much into that. I'm going to drink some of my coffee. Yummy. All right, it's hazelnut flavored. All right, so, hazelnut and blueberry. I'm going to move this over here. And I'm going to start pulling out some cards now for the reading. All right, I'm going to do a few shuffles and also take some deep breaths. And I think I'm also going to adjust the camera. It's at a weird angle right now. I love the way these cards shuffle. Because they're so thin. I mean, they're a little too thin and flimsy, but they're better than they used to be. The Llewellyn cardstock used to be just absolutely horrendous. All right. So, Venus and Taurus. Now, this reading is, primarily for me, but it's also, for the collective if it resonates with you. So, yeah. And I'll be reading it kind of like it's for the collective, but because the focus is also Venus in the 4th house, because that's where it is in my chart, it is primarily like meant for me, I guess. All right, unless your Venus is also in the 4th house, then it's especially appropriate for you. All right, so where do I desire stability? Ooh, the Council of Animals, which I believe is Judgment. Ooh, okay. That's really interesting. All right, let me adjust this camera. So, the Council of Animals, or Judgment. Yeah, I mean, when I think of Judgment, I think of kind of atonement. There is a level of judgment going on, but like atonement for wrongs or forgiveness, kind of, because all these animals are here staring at you, at the reader, at the client, or whatever, the querent. All the animals are staring at you, which can feel very unnerving. It can feel very much like a judgment on you, a judgment on your character, a judgment on me. And, I get the sense, and especially since Venus and Taurus is about a lot of that self-care and that a little bit of indulgence, a little bit of, dare I say, selfishness. Yes, so an area where I might desire stability, or where we can all sort of get a sense of stability, might be a sense of like being easier on ourselves, and having that, being less critical of ourselves. Does that make sense? And also forgiving ourselves for, whatever we need to be forgiven for, or whatever we need to give ourselves forgiveness for. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm reading there. All right, so the next card, how can I show myself extra love? That's a good one. How can I show myself extra love? We have 3 of challenges. So like the 3 of swords. Wow. Again, I'm kind of getting that idea of forgiveness. And which does, it does make sense to me. Considering this is essentially a reading for me. But yeah, I am still getting that. So where can I show myself some extra love? Kind of that balancing of heart and mind, of, this is such a difficult card in the deck. The 3 of Swords is often a difficult card because a lot of people think of it as like heartbreak and stuff. But I read it as a sort of imbalance between heart and mind, and our, like, what we want, what we most desire isn't lining up with the reality, or what's right, or what's logical. What we want isn't the logical course. And yeah, and I think, sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to want something that's illogical. Sometimes it's okay to have those illogical, irrational feelings. And I feel like both of these cards so far have been really emphasizing forgiveness and kind of giving grace. And I don't know, with this three of challenges, we have this image of this supposedly their father leaving Hansel and Gretel in the woods or something. I think that was the story from the book. I can't remember, because this is all fairy tales in this tarot deck. And I believe this was the father of Hansel and Gretel just leaving them in the woods because he couldn't care for them anymore, which really made me angry with this card when I did my deep dive of this deck. But yeah, and I get from this, like, it's still an awful situation. But like, if we're reading it in the way that I'm interpreting this for this particular reading in context, I feel like I could read this in a few different ways. I could read this as this person is only gone for a little bit. They're going to come back, and it's hard for them. It's hard for them to leave. It's hard for this person to leave their loved ones behind. But there's a purpose for it. So that's one way I could read it, and generously, I might add. Another way is we could be looking at like a sort of generational trauma here, and or something that was deep-seated, that's affecting us or me or you, and now that maybe we experienced something like this from one of our parents or one of our authority figures in our lives when we were children. So maybe there's some trauma around that. So yeah, in general though, I am kind of reading both of these cards as a sense of forgiveness and giving grace for emotions, even if they're not logical. So yeah. All right. So how will this transit affect my relationships, and how will this transit affect your relationships? All right. We have the Four of Spells, which I believe is the Four of Wands in this deck. Which to me, the Four of Spells, or the Four of Wands, is a card about reunions or events, especially with those in our lives that bring stability. The fours are a number of stability, and we usually see that as a sort of celebration. Like a lot of times it's weddings or get-togethers, community building sort of things. And a joining of resources to bring something new into the world, and something stable and something that's bringing stability. So I am reading this as, so how will this transit affect my relationships? It's bringing a sense of stability, and which is good. And I think we all sort of need that, stable relationships. And yeah, that's kind of right up where I'm reading that. It is very relationship-y kind of card. Not so much romantic, but just like a community relationship kind of thing. And yeah, so where shouldn't I compromise in my life? Where shouldn't I compromise? We've got, ooh, I like this one, the Keeper of Boons. I think this is the King of Pentacles. And this card, so this deck actually, a lot of times when I read it, it does feel very Dagda to me. And I think it's because of this card. There's something about this person that feels very much like the Irish god Dagda. And so, I don't know, for me anyway, that's what this card oftentimes feels to me here. So the King of Pentacles, let me move these up a little bit. So the the Keeper of Boons, or the King of Pentacles, to me represents a sort of it's a very jolly figure. I mean, it really is. But it really is a family sort of card, and a whole, like, this card to me is very appropriate for Venus in Taurus, and Taurus in general. I think that King of Pentacles energy, it's very much of the home. It's tradition. It's family. It's there is a strong sense of stability in this reading, and yeah, and that's the energy this card gives me as well. It is very safe, very nurturing. So where shouldn't I compromise? I shouldn't compromise in what makes me feel safe, what makes me feel comforted and at home and at ease. And I shouldn't have to give up some of those comforts, some of those things that make me feel safe, for something that's not going to do that for me, you know. And I think that makes sense to me. So I shouldn't have to compromise on my safety, on what makes me feel safe and warm and cultivated. You know, that's kind of a funny word to use here, but yeah, this was a very fitting for this, and so far this reading has felt very much Taurus to me. All right, so the next position is, where or how should I start to be more vulnerable? Where or how should I start to be more vulnerable? We have, the Nine of Visions. And I like this card in this deck because the Nine of Visions, or Nine of Cups, is I often call it the wish card. And this card very specifically embodies that interpretation of the Nine of Cups. You know, sometimes we can read it as a sort of shadow reading of the Nine of Cups is like alcoholism, or indulging a little too much, or being too, I guess, privileged. And, you know, the traditional image is the person with a bunch of wine glasses behind them. And, you know, that's the traditional image of the Nine of Cups. But it's, you know, it really is a card of, you know, things that have come to you. I do apologize if you can hear my dog outside barking. Yeah, so in other cards, especially like, say, the Nine of Pentacles, we have that it's sort of living in luxury, but it's kind of an earned luxury, whereas the Nine of Cups is a bit more luck, and it's a bit more privileged. You know, there is a sense of having what you need, and all of that, but it's something that came to you not necessarily out of merits. It's just, it's a blessing, it's a wish, you know. And so where or how should I start to be more vulnerable? You know, that's interesting. Maybe being honest about what I have, and how lucky I am, you know, and you know, recognizing my own privilege on things. I mean, that's a good one too. And I think that's something we all should do sometimes, is understanding our privilege, understanding that some of the things we get, some of the blessings that we have gotten in life have been purely luck. And we've got to kind of understand that. And sometimes when we understand that, we can understand other people, and especially people who are not so lucky. And yeah, so I mean, I think that makes sense for the Nine of Cups, or Nine of Visions in the where should I be more vulnerable? It's kind of that understanding how lucky you are, understanding where your privilege is, where my privilege is. So the final card, what should I splurge on to spoil myself? Which sounds so counterintuitive from the last card, because the last card was like, you know, realize how lucky you are and how privileged you are to have things. And then the next position is, so how should I spoil myself? So that's kind of funny. So what should I splurge on to spoil myself? Final card, Seven of Visions. Wow. You know what? I think this is right in line with that because I got, I have enough. I really do. I shouldn't, and that is something I've been sort of thinking about lately. One of the things, especially like with tarot decks and stuff, I've been really reining in how much I'm spending on tarot, and I'm not doing a no buy. I'm definitely still buying stuff for myself and all of that. But I have limited space and limited funds and resources and all of that, and so I'm being very mindful of that, and also of the fact that I have a family I've got to think about. We've got so many other projects, house projects, things like that, that we need to focus a bit more on with money and stuff. So, I've been really trying to rein in my spending and keeping things less, so I don't have so much, and because the Seven of Visions also to me is it's a little bit pie in the sky, even though this is in the water, of course, but like because it's like imagining all these different things, and then at the same time it's sort of that paralysis of choice, that where there's too much, and sometimes we need to just rein things in a little bit, and yeah, so that's kind of how I'm seeing that. So from the top here, we have a strong sense of forgiveness going on here, and being easy on ourselves, and don't take things don't be too hard on ourselves here. And down here we're seeing that need to rein things in, but at the same time, if you spend if you splurge on something, it's not that big of a deal, and it's okay. Like we can be okay with that. If you do something that's against what you're trying to do here, like reining in funds, or trying not to eat too much junk food, or some sort of habit that you're trying to cultivate some sort of good habit that we're trying to cultivate here for our home, and to make things comfortable and safe and warm and inviting, that we want to stay here and ruminate and cultivate and all of that. When we step outside of that, sometimes it's okay. We can forgive ourselves. We do have a stable situation right now, and we need to recognize the areas where we are quite privileged and lucky, and not compromise on those things that make us feel safe and warm. And yeah. So that's the reading. I think this turned out really nicely. What do you think? So yeah, that was Venus in Taurus, and I did really enjoy doing the tarot, the force of enchantment tarot of the enchanted forest, something like that. Yeah, I think the book has a different title than the deck, so I think that's what's throwing me off right now. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.